Latest round of stimulus checks already starting to show up in bank accounts. Hopefully you're going to receive yours in the next.
The stimulus checks are coming, and not just $1,400 checks for adults, but also more money than ever before fund. So you're ready for the next downturn. And put some money in a 529 college fund for the kids or for you.
Your old bank.
That check your stimulus thing, it actually gave my old bank account.
That's even though she gave the IRS her new banking info.
We have some breaking news, everybody. Unemployment claims are continuing to rise even higher. Economists are urging that Joe Biden take executive action on this and send out extra relief to millions of Americans. However, Democrats and Republicans are just trying to come up with an agreement on who should qualify for this financial assistance. And now the sending of stimulus payments and tax refunds as inflation relief continues in the United States is here. So several states actually across the nation have approved the sending of payments as inflation just continues to get worse over the next coming years. For instance, in New Mexico, continuing to issue a fourth stimulus check. In New Mexico, they're issuing a fourth stimulus check, everybody. It's worth at least $400. It's going to go to qualified households, and during the season, the state allocated $10 million for economic aid to help the low-income residents, and no maximum income has even been specified for eligible households. And these payments are earmarked for families with the lowest incomes first, and Human Services Department cautions that there will be a limited number of applicants. One state official even told Yahoo News that this is a one-time relief stimulus payment. It follows the 3 other rounds of stimulus checks and other tax rebates issued by the New Mexico government between May and August. But this new stimulus check will be allocated to the low-income families only. The new inflation relief check that was signed into the law was pushed by the governor. It was for $200, and it's going to be returned to every resident in the state. The state auditor says that your checks are already going out to eligible recipients. And for those who haven't received the first $130 of refund yet, well, it will be combined with a $200 check if you're married and filing jointly. And now $650 is also headed your way. According to experts, if you receive a tax refund and you're signed up for direct deposit, then the Department of Revenue will deposit the money in your account, just like it did with the $125 stimulus check early this year. The Labor Department reported this week that slightly more Americans applied for unemployment benefits compared to a year ago, even as the uneven U.S. economy just shakes around. Applications for jobless claims has also remained very low, even as the Fed has cranked up its benchmark, everybody, and the borrowing rate in an effort to cool down the economy, which has been suffering from inflation and other logistical issues. Now, folks, not only that, but listen to this. Fed officials have warned that the unemployment rate will likely just remain and rise as part of the fight against rising prices and stimulus payments. The most recent government jobs report likely snuffed out any hope that the Fed would even pause rate increases when it meets next week. American employers showed their hiring in September. Now, they still added 263,000 jobs, and the unemployment rate fell from 3.7% to 3.5%. It matches a half a century low. Early this month, the government reported that inflation in the United States has accelerated in September, with the cost of housing and other necessities intensifying pressures on families and businesses. 4-decade high inflation has also prompted the Federal Reserve to keep raising its interest rate, which is currently in a range of 3 to 3.25%, a little more than 6 months ago. That rate was near zero, and this sharp rate hike has pushed mortgage rates up near 7% and made other borrowing even costlier. Now, the Fed hopes that higher interest rates will slow borrowing and spending and push inflation closer to its traditional 2% budget. Now, the government also reported that the U.S. economy rebounded in the third quarter, expanding by 2.6% after contracting in the first half of the year. The total number of Americans collecting unemployment also rose to 1.44 million early this week. It's the highest level in 7 months, and it's still worrisome. It shows that President Biden must do a better job and send out stimulus payments before the end of the year. If you guys agree, tell me in the comments.
Look, I also think the American people sent a message that they want us to work together. I've always done that. I know I got criticized for it when I ran. I said I was running for 3 reasons. 1, to restore the soul of America. 2, to build this economy from the middle out and the bottom up. And thirdly, to unite the country. Regardless of what the final tally showed, I'm prepared to work with Republicans. But the American people have made it clear. They expect Republicans to work with me as well. And folks, I'll always be open to any good ideas, whether it's Democrat or Republican, to move the country forward. But I've also made it really clear that if Republicans try to repeal the power we just gave Medicare to reduce prescription drug costs.
A lot of action is finally being taken by Congress to help families that are financially struggling right now due to the crisis. Millions will be able to claim stimulus of up to $200 a month. And now a national average gas price has fallen slowly in mid-July, down to $4.67 from the record high of just $5 in June 2022. According to AAA, the drop occurred in spite of increased demand, sparked by holiday weekend travel and summer vacations. But many Americans are still struggling to fill their tanks while juggling other expenses. California Democrats Representative Khanna and Sheldon Whitehouse have proposed a big oil windfall profits tax in a stated effort to reduce gas prices even further. Under the legislation, large oil companies like ExxonMobil would pay a per barrel tax equal to 50% of the difference between the current price per barrel and the pre-crisis average price and the pre-crisis level before. Tax revenue would go back to taxpayers earning less than $75,000 or $150,000 filing jointly as a quarterly rebate to alleviate some of the ongoing pain at the pump. Lawmakers in Congress estimate that single filers get roughly $240 a year and that joint filers can cash in on about $360 annually. Democratic Representative Jamal Bowman and Bernie Sanders have introduced complementary legislation targeting price gougers in the oil and gas sector. A bill proposed by 3 House Democrats would send money every month to families when the national average for gas is more than $4 a gallon. Under the legislation proposed by Mike Thompson, John Larson, and Lauren Underwood, eligible families would receive $100 per month plus another $100 for each dependent. In the meantime, many states have enacted or are working on implementing a gas tax holiday to provide some relief from high gas prices this summer. As recently as mid-June, President Biden was still considering a federal gas tax holiday, a move which could save Americans 18 cents a gallon. This week, gas costs less in South Carolina, Georgia, Texas, and Tennessee than it did before. And since the enhanced child tax credit reverted to its original maximum of $2,000 per child, similar initiatives by the U.S. government have been stalled. In response, many states have begun to introduce their own child tax credit programs, varying in scope and available credit amount. The Pennsylvania state has now joined 12 other states providing relief through state legislated child tax credits and deductions. The governor, Tom Wolf, has recently signed off on the state's new $45 billion budget.
Truck industry has gone up. It is now at $76 billion. And the corporate lobbyists working on this bill, like pigs at the trough, are not yet finished. They want more and more and more. Their needs are insatiable. Mr. President, needless to say, I do not usually quote approvingly from the editorial page of the Wall Street